Now, welcome to another edition of News from Naboo with Thor's Lightning Takes. And let's get right to the news.
We're talking about Andor.
Something different.
All Andor all the time.
Why not?
Why not? There will be spoilers for up to the latest episode, episode 10 of Andor. So if you haven't watched it, see ya.
Or you can stick around and have it spoiled.
Tony Gilroy did an interview with The Hollywood Reporter. We kind of talked about a lot of the burning questions that we as fans still have. Like Kino Loy's fate, how they came up with the prison setting, and, tidbits, all good stuff. First, Gilroy was commenting about how Lucasfilm is thrilled with how the show has performed.
Oh, that's really good news.
Particularly when it comes to the critical reception.
Okay, wow. Mm-hmm. What about fan reception?
What about...
whatever.
What he
the
said...
fans aren't killing themselves over it. That should be a plus, right? I mean, as usual, fans, some don't like it, sure, but there's not this civil war in the fan base over it, I feel.
What he said was, everybody's really happy. I've never had reviews or affirmation like this in my life for anything. And the passion of the people who've just been following along is just overwhelming, man.
Yeah, let me tell you, if for some strange reason Tony Gilroy hears this, phenomenal. From a lifelong Star Wars fan, I love what you've done.
I don't know what else to say. It's humbling. So yeah, I think everybody's happy with that. Everybody's pleased that House of the Dragon and Rings of Power are now out of the way. And I think a lot of people have been waiting for someone to tell them it's okay to watch Andor now or whatever.
It's okay. If I have to be that person too, it's okay, everybody. If you are someone watching this for some reason and haven't seen Andor, just give it a try. I know
give it a shot.
Maybe the first 3 episodes are a little slow or something. I know that's a complaint, but just give it a try. Get to 8, 9, and 10, and you will not be disappointed.
And then you look back and go, oh, those ones were really good.
Yeah, I know. I'm not saying the first 3 are bad. I understand the criticism of it being kind of a little... Mm-hmm. You're used to Star Wars starting with a Star Destroyer flying overhead and big space battle and guns shooting, and I get that. But
not
this
doesn't
exactly start that way. Yeah, not in the red light district.
He was also asked about what the prisoners are building in their shifts. And he didn't give a straight-up answer, but he did hint that there's potential Season 2 ties.
Interesting.
Uh-huh.
It's got to be the Death Star, right? Come on.
He says, what they're building. It's the spine of Season 2.
It's the spine of the Death Star.
I've heard all kinds of things. It's great. All of the material that the Empire has, I look at everything economically. How does this work? Who built Scarif? How did you build it? How do you build Edu? How do you build the Death Star? This armada of ships. There's a lot of things that need to be built, and there's an incredible amount of material. So to me, what they're building is not as important as the scale of it. When you go to the Imperial Bureau of Standards, where Cyril works, you go, oh my god, he's just working at a fuel purity desk. But that's what it takes to run this empire. So the scale is what they're really trying to suggest here.
I started chuckling. I don't know if Mike picked it up, but because... First of all, I think it could be a generic part that works just... I mean, it has the Imperial symbol on it, which I think is just a connector, actually. Just kind of coincidental that it looks like that. But it could be something that just works in damn near every project. Just it's like Legos, they're kind of... You could use one part for a different different set and so on. But
absolutely.
I chuckled because it's he gave all this thought, and every time I hear about logistics in Star Wars, I go to The Rise of Skywalker. I'm sorry to go to the sequels and bash them or whatever, but... That entire fleet of ships in the middle of nowhere. How in the world did they make all those?
They're building them right now.
I believe it, yeah. Maybe that's what they're doing. He's connecting it to the sequels. No.
Don't do it.
But no, I mean, think about that. There were only 2 Wayfinder devices that can get out to this place, and somehow they built thousands of ships. What were the logistics? JJ, did you put thought into it like Tony did for the Death Star? No? Sorry. Rant over.
Gilroy also explained how they came up with the entire concept of the prison, trying to make something different from everybody else, and how THX 1138 inspired production.
I think that's it looks a lot.
Yeah, it inspired the production
film,
designer Lucas Hall.
Yeah.
He says, that's fascinating because when we got into the room, I knew that Cassian goes to prison, but everyone was like, oh my god, an effing prison. How do we do anything new? Because we're not going to do what anyone has done before. We were just absolutely animate about that. That's the rule. So honestly, I don't know who said electric floors first in a flurry of all of the shite happening. but someone said electric floors. And all of a sudden, we were like, oh my god, what does that mean? And so we spent the whole day building the prison. I love it.
Beautiful.
I love it.
Again, the logistics behind it all.
Yeah. They're really thinking, and someone's like, electric floors? Can we do electric floors? And everyone's like, yes, we will build this entire prison around the idea of electric floor. And it's nice. They didn't just go, yeah, we're putting a prison in and slap something together that looks like a prison.
Yeah.
They spent their time building the prison. They spent a whole day building the prison, and they spent more than that.
I keep saying the word logistics. That's what separates the show. It feels like everything in it is given care and thought as to how it actually would work in universe. Not just, this is cool, so put it on screen. Now how would this work? Why does this work? Why would the people of the galaxy do this or have this?
Mm-hmm. He said, we got crazy about this stuff. A lot of people just think the prison is just white, but there's a billion kinds of white. When we were doing the ISB conference room, we also had to figure out our whites and how much gray was in it, but I think there were pictures up from THX 1138. I know we had pictures up from The Conformist, so I'm sure there were pictures up from THX of those whites. So it's a happy convergence. It's really pleasing and cool that it's George Lucas's first movie, but we definitely went back and looked at it afterwards and were like, oh my god, look at those whites.
Sounds like laundry day.
When you're trying to pick a color for the walls and you're like, there's eggshell white, antique white, ivory. You're just like...
White is never just white. No, has something before it, yeah. Something other white, yeah.
Yes. And I think it's cool that they really studied it. I mean, the white of the prison is most likely a totally different white than the ISB white.
Yeah. Probably the ISB white is like a colder white. And I don't know. I don't know anything about color.
A warmer white?
I guess not. That didn't make sense. No. The prison should be colder than the ISB, but I don't know does anything get colder than an ISB agent's heart? Well,
I don't know
maybe.
Cyril's
you beat me to it. I was trying to set it up for myself, and you took it from me. You snatched away.
In terms of teases, Gilroy then gave a big one. We know Kino Loy in the last moments of episode 10. Most viewers kind of assumed he didn't make it. Either A, he was captured because he didn't jump, or B, he jumped to his death and because he couldn't swim. But Tony Gilroy took a page out of Filoni's book. Yay. Even when we presume, and he was asked if Kino was executed shortly after, Gilroy said, I don't know. He's not dead. Is he dead? I don't see him dying.
No one's ever really gone.
If you don't see the death, you just never know. Just like with Cinta, and we didn't see what happened, but we know.
Leave the door open, but more than likely the bittersweet ending.
Right. If he never goes back to that character, we all know what happened.
And there was an interesting comment yesterday, and I don't remember who did it because I'm not looking at my screen or anything, so apologies. But they pointed out that maybe his speech when he is talking about, if you see somebody kind of lost and standing still to help them, he may have said that because he knew he wouldn't be able to jump into the water, but he wanted somebody to push him. You know what I mean?
Right. Maybe he knew he wouldn't have the courage
He knew he wouldn't have the courage, but he'd rather drown than get captured by the Empire.
Well, right. And maybe he knows that if he gets captured, he'll be forced to rat out.
Well, they know it's him. Like, he gave his name. I'm Kino Loy from Floor 2. So they kind of know who the guy behind it, or we know what Cassian had a little more to do with it, but they're going to know he was like the kingpin, if you will, of this whole operation.
The prison break block brought back, that's a lot to say, B. The prison break block brought back into the picture Duncan Powell as Melshi from Rogue One, who we've been watching through this whole prison segment. And we see him at the end running away with Cassian on the beach after escaping. Gilroy says he loves the character. Duncan Powell, who plays Melshi, was a great hang-on rogue. And I just really liked him. So I was like, how can we get him back in? There will be some other things along the way that we'll do, but the prison seemed like a great place to show where and how they met.
Good. Another guy that we know is going to die. Thanks, Tony.
I only put in men that will die later.
I know.
That way you'll know at least a few people will make it out of my series alive.
Yeah, well, we know Mon Mothma makes it. Other than that, I mean, everybody else is kind of...
We don't know about her family, though.
Well, yeah, I just said...
We gave her family just so we can go...
Kill them and take them away, or... He's a torturer, isn't he?
Oh, my goodness. And then moving on to Stellan Skarsgård. Oh, my goodness. That speech.
I know. We have like Andy Serkis and Kino, and he does this amazing performance, and then the proverbial,
like, I cannot
hold my beer while I just try to one up you with my speech. Or you thought that was? It's like a debate, like, okay, this is your closing argument. here's Kino's, and then he's like, no, I got you.
I got this, man.
I got it.
All right, so here's what Tony Gilroy said about Luthen in the speech at the end. He's a chess player, man. He's sacrificing a castle to protect his queen. So I don't think the Krieger story is over yet. Luthen is in a very tough spot, and his position over the next 5 years is only going to get more complicated, because how do you build this network? Earlier on, he says that he's been building it for 10 or 12 years, but all of a sudden, with Aldhani, they're going loud. All of a sudden, they're going to expose themselves. And in a classic political sense, he's an accelerationist. He believes in the fact that you have to make it hurt really bad in order to bring people to change. Once you make that announcement via the Aldhani heist in episode 6, once you do that, you're no longer in charge of the thing that you've put out there. So how do you juggle your paranoia? How do you maintain your secrecy? How do you go big and stay small and tight? How do you expand while expansion makes you more vulnerable? Those are going to be issues. You're seeing the beginning of those issues in episode 10. That's also one of the major food groups that we'll be dealing with in the second season. It's provoking the Empire into making things worse. It covers all sides of the political spectrum. It could be left, right, it could be anywhere. But it's the idea of, I can't get people to do something unless they really feel it. And that's a classic revolutionary leadership move all the way through. I mean, you could go back 2,000 years and find people were doing that.
Yeah, it works, right? The more you make it hurt, the more you make somebody squirm and want to do something about it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's, I mean, it
sounds horrible.
It feels horrible. It sounds horrible to be that everyday person whose life is getting harder because somebody is desiring a revolution or change. And
your life may have not been so bad under the Empire either.
But he's not wrong. Because
no, I'm not disagreeing with...
If you think about it on another scale, I think the Empire was always going to get to the point, to that point, but they were going to slide it much slower to get there.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't notice it as much. So it wouldn't feel rough. By jumping the, gun here and getting bad very quickly, instead of the Empire's probably slow method.
Yeah, I don't want to condone his methods, per se, but I understand why they work.
Right.
And like I said, there are probably people who are just fine under the Empire who are like, why do these rebels have to stir up the pot, and they're the real problem, not the Empire?
Even Jin said it's fine as long as you don't look up.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. He did also touch on another thing. As we know, previous scenes with Skarsgård included a lot of Easter eggs in the background. I mean, we had the Starkiller armor, we had Padme's hat.
Well, maybe he's a collector of fine hats.
Indiana Jones relics.
That one a little harder to explain.
Gilroy confirmed not only did he have nothing to do with them, he didn't even know about them until the show was on air and the internet pointed them out.
Yeah, that's kind of what I figured. It was just background fun stuff.
What he said is, we have Pablo Hidalgo. He's sort of the Curia of the Vatican up there at Lucasfilm. He's the final voice, but we have a lot of people on the show. Mohan Leo, our visual effects supervisor, who was on Rogue One as well, is a huge part of our show and a really important feature on our show. Mohan and his team know everything. We have a lot of people around the show that are really deep. So if we have a question, we ask it, but it's kind of an organic system, really. Every now and again, they sneak stuff in there that I didn't even know. I was reading online about the antiques in Luthen's gallery, and some of those antiques, the importance of them was news to me. So it was fantastic that the art department snuck those in there, but by and large, it's a organic process.
It's something.
I do like that proves that none of that is important, that it's just background stuff. Because, but people look at the Easter eggs, and sometimes people go, could this mean...
Yeah,
and
I think...
Those are dangerous words. Dangerous.
Sometimes it just is there because it's there. It doesn't have to be a clue or a hint or anything else. Sometimes it can be fun. But, I mean, sometimes they do put things in there that really get you thinking. Like, why would you put that in there? Well, we didn't put it in there for any reason, but... Just
to put it in there, really?
Yeah.
All right, our next little piece of news today is Studio Ghibli made an announcement that they were doing a collaborative project with Lucasfilm. They just put out like a 15-second thing where their logo and Lucasfilm's logo were meshed.
They must have watched Rings of Power. Like you just
no,
you do a transition.
let's not go into that.
No.
Everyone's like, what is this project? What could it mean? Because Studio Ghibli is known for some of their larger scale projects. I think HBO actually has like a huge catalog of Studio Ghibli stuff, but Disney might as well. I haven't really checked on Disney Plus. They made things like Princess Mononoke, Spirited Away, Howl's Moving Castle, as well as a little. I mean, those are the big known works, but they've done a lot of smaller scale pieces that are beautiful and usually have really deep and great storytelling.
I've seen a few of those, like 2 or 3 of those, to be honest. So they are very artistic. That's probably the best way to put it.
Yes, the anime style is very artistic, but they're also usually a very deep story.
Yeah.
Very well told stories.
I mean, this could be anything from Visions Season 2 to...
Probably.
To a separate Star Wars project to something that has nothing to do with Star Wars.
Yeah, right now the biggest assumption is that it's going to be in Vision Season 2, because we do know Japan was still going to have a studio representation in Season 2. Along with... I don't even know if they've announced which studios.
No, I think they only announced the countries.
Yeah.
And California. Yeah. California is its own country now.
I guess it is. Apparently, according to Disney, it is. I don't know.
Maybe. So yeah, I'm going to guess this is just Vision Season 2, their kind of announcement. But who knows? Well, that's all we got for you this time, so do take to the comments below. Tell us what you think of any and all of today's news, and let's talk some Star Wars. And until next time, thanks for watching.